you how to write a discussion chapter, and we will look more into it in class. But I just wanted to have an idea of what it's all about. So the main objective is just to teach you how to write this chapter in your research project. And it's good to know the purpose why you're doing this. And also, I'm going to show you the structure and give you some tips on how to write. The discussion chapter is quite important. This is where you have to interpret and explain your research findings. And it also links up your research question to the existing literature, and you then do your own interpretation. The discussion chapter shows, highlights implications, also your limitation, and guides future researchers in a particular direction. The simple purpose of the discussion chapter is number one, explain what your findings mean. So you've done your research, you got the data, you analyze the data. Yeah, what does that mean? Then you also have to compare your results with what others have done before. So previous researchers, what did they do? What did they find out? Compare what you got and what they got in their own research. Then you also have to discuss your implications, theory, practice, and policy, depending on the kind of research you're doing. So, what is the implication in theory? What is the implication in practice, and even in policy making? Then you should also look at limitations. What are those things you couldn't do, and why couldn't you do it? That could be a gap where someone else can fill it. For example, maybe you use standard microbiological techniques for your research. Limitation could be finances. You couldn't afford to do PCR, molecular stuff because it was too expensive. Some other person could look at that and decide to use molecular techniques. So just show your limitations. You're not watering down your research. You're just saying this is what I couldn't do because of this. Then you also have to, you could suggest areas for future research. It's not compulsory, but it's good practice. So how do you structure the discussion chapter? Brief summary of your key findings. You don't need to repeat your results. We've already seen your result chapter. So just a brief summary. Yeah, very brief. It's a concise analysis. Then you compare with the existing literature. Yeah, I've already talked about limitations of the study, where you have to acknowledge this is my challenge. It's not because I don't know what to do, but I couldn't do it because of this. You're not watering down your research at all. And also you suggest future research directions that other researchers go through. For example, brief and summary. So I said, number one, brief summary of key findings. So I have this example where someone did research water microbiology. So, brief summary of key findings. Study found that 70% of water samples from public boreholes contain multi-drug resistant bacteria, with 50% testing positive for the MEC18. So, this is the key findings. You're not going to write everything you saw or your research you found on your research, but this is the key finding because it had to do with multi-drug resistant. You're not naming all the bacteria and all the resistant bacteria, but your key findings were that out of 100%, 70 of them contained multi-drug resistant bacteria. And out of that 70%, 50% were positive for the MEC-A gene in Staphylococcus aureus. So these results highlight a significant public health concern. So you're interpreting your results, okay? Then you have to compare with existing literature. So our findings align with previous. So Smith et al. In 2021 did similar stuff. Yeah. And when you say our findings aligned, that means they also found out that high percentage of resistant bacteria in borehole water compared to, but they didn't find MEC, who found no MEC-C genes in water sources. A study detected MEC-C in 10%. So 50% had MEC-A gene, 10% had MEC-C gene. But what Johnson et al. Did in 2021, they did not find. So you compare, this is what this person found out, and this is what I found out. And why this discrepancy? You should also think like a researcher, say, suggesting potential geographical variations in resistant patterns. So you're not just saying this person found this and this person found this, but you're also trying to suggest why you think that difference occurred. Yeah. And what are the implications of your finding? This suggests that borehole water contamination could be a major pathway for the spread of antibiotic resistant bacteria. So, in your study, you found that 70% of borehole water contain multi drug antibiotic resistant bacteria. So, what's the implication if we have that um, number of antibiotic resistant bacteria? What's the implication? Yeah, so this person has said it could be a pathway for spread of that. So in your own research, to what is the implication of your results? Yeah. So it underscores the need for regular water monitoring. So you're suggesting that because of this problem, um, there's need for water monitoring, and there should be strict policies on antibiotic use in agriculture and healthcare, because um, these are means by which antibiotic resistant bacteria get into water. So you need to explain the implications of your findings. Limitations. One limitation of this study is a small sample size, which may not be representative of all boreholes in the region. So you're not watering down your research. You're just saying, I used a small sample size, so this might not represent all the borehole in the region. Yeah, depending on what region you are. So you could also do that. And say the study focused on MEC-A and MEC-C genes. Future research should include other resistant markers to provide a more comprehensive picture. So you're saying this is what I did, yeah, but I'm not going to generalize it to the whole country. So other people, you're now pointing your fingers, yeah, other people, direction of study, you could include more genes, yeah, and that will give us a more comprehensive picture. So you're just saying this is what I did, but others could do that. So don't not forget limitation. You're not watching what you've done, but you're just saying this is what I did. Then you suggest directions for future research, and just like I said earlier, and it's mentioned here, future studies should investigate seasonal variations, bacteria. So you're giving ideas. Yeah, other researchers could look at variations in bacterial contamination. Yeah, and assess effectiveness of water treatment methods. So this is suggestion. You didn't do it, but you're suggesting that other researchers could do something like this. Mistakes you should avoid, stop repeating your result. We already seen your result chapter. You don't need to go over it again and start telling us about the age, gender, and all the stuff. Just don't repeat your result. Make claims that are not supported by data. So if you say something like 80% of uh, borehole water contaminated and there's no data to support it, where did you get the information from? So it's always good to make claims that are supported by data. Yeah. And do not ignore contradictory findings. If you see somebody else has done something that um, is not in line with what you've done, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You don't need to say, okay, I'm going to ignore it. That's fine. Don't ignore it. You just say, this person did this and I did this. Maybe the difference can be that, blah, blah, blah. And don't overlook your study limitation. Like I said, you're not watering down what you've done, but you're just saying, this is what I did. And if you do not connect your findings to the research question, it's not a good practice to. So please try and do that. In conclusion, the discussion chapter should interpret, not just summarize. You link your findings to previous studies and be honest about your limitations and suggest future research. Make sure it's clear and your writing is easy to read. All right, thank you. We'll talk more about it in class. All right.